It is now that I have the privilege to introduce our speaker for this morning. Joy Sagar is an internationally recognized spiritual medium, psychic, healer, speaker, and teacher, and is a resident and sees clients here in the camp. Born in India, he began exploring his intuitive gifts at a young age. He later trained extensively with the Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp Meeting Association, earning certification as a medium and healer in 2013. Joy offers personal readings, workshops, and public demonstrations. His mission is to inspire growth, healing, and a more profound connection with spirit through compassion, integrity, and wisdom. Please help me in welcoming Joy Sagar to the platform.
So in the beginning of the service, Jamie said the projector has gone to blitz, right?
Yes.
Right? So we're going to use that as our talk. That's the opening statement. How many of us recognize we may be living through our projections? Right? And how many of us would realize not all projections fell exactly where they needed to be? So how many of your projections have gone to blitz? Right? Think about that. I mean, just simple statement. But at the same time, we still continue to make projections because they're exciting. Projections about life, projection about choices, projection about things we would like to accomplish, healing we would like to accomplish, projections continue. But at the same time, the journey within that projection is there one of million potentials that are available to us, that given projection, when it becomes so set in motion that we cannot go left or right or create a small deviation or margin of flexibility, it becomes rigid. And when it does not come forward with an outcome, we are presented with a sense of disappointment. And I'm pretty sure, just like me, you recognize what I'm saying. You have your version of it. You don't have to have my version of it. So that projection could be a useful thing. And that's another part of my journey, is everything in our life that is unfolding. It's taken so many years, and sometimes it's a challenge in its own self, that everything is happening in the right time, in the right space, and the right amount of the need of our spirit and our soul. It's not one iota bigger or smaller. It is exactly how it is. That also takes me back to a part of my memory, which is a very wonderful journey over the last several months for me. But this memory goes back as far back as I was a kid, 10, 11, 12 years old. And the word that I've been working over the last few days is leave it alone. And this is a story about a stick in a mud. And the instruction was coming from my mother telling me to leave it alone. And I just wanted to say what was going on with the stick. Could I play with it, or could I just see if the roots were being formed or whatever was going on? And every time my mother would catch me, she would say, hey, leave it alone. Her projection was to see that stick come to life with a sprout of a leaf or some life in it. And my projection was nothing but, hey, let me see what's going on the inside of it. So was she wrong? Was I wrong? I do not know. I was just a little kid at that time. But that thought has been such an instrumental thing for me to just realize how often we sow something in our hearts and minds to see an outcome. And we constantly poke at it, probe it, investigate it, change it, modify it. And then we wonder, why is it not coming to any sensible fruition, or it's not giving us an experience from that part. And just like it is said in the Book of Life chapter called Kitchen, if you want to see a pot come to a boil, take your eyes off it. Leave it alone. go its own way, right? I've had those experiences too. I burned a pot of milk, boiling, just watching it, and then I had to go do something. Maybe look at that stick, and the pot was half gone. And I was like, oh, not only is burned, it's going to be another course of projected outcome from now we don't have the amount of milk we needed for the day. But that's life, isn't it? And that's life because that life goes its own way, and we are trying to just arrange it and organize it, and so on and so forth. It's not much different when we try to make sense of life. It's not much different when you're trying to make sense of our spiritual journey. It's all the same. It has a different vantage point of your perception, of your reality, but things just... So if anybody in this room has not messed up by poking at things and prodding things and the outcome came to be different, raise their hands. Right? It's just this, it's not possible. Now, the funny part is, oh yes, that was a setback for me. The pot was boiled, the stick was moved around, and all this is going on. But I got a lot of experiences out of it. I remember my mom's voice right here. I also remember other things that she offered me right there. But it's all fun. At the time, it felt like, oh my God, what did I do? Right now, I was like, oh, well, there was a lesson in it. Leave things alone. And I'm just enjoying that part of the memory because I have learned over my journey with natural law and philosophy and spiritualism, and even working with the muscle of mediumship and psychic development, sometimes you have to just leave that vision alone for just a small fraction of moment to let it set in place or complete itself to show you what you need to see. That piece may not make sense right in this very moment, but 30 seconds later, there's a bulb going off in the head and saying, hey, this looks much better. See, even the phone is telling me I'm doing the right thing here. So the part of that fantastic sign language is like such. If you're doing something in the right proportion of time, there's a bell's gonna go off, a phone's gonna go off, a glass is gonna break, something's gonna happen. It'll get your attention. And that's the job I think we have to pay when we are doing this projection. What is feeling right within that projection? What is happening in our own body chemistry, in our own sensory feeling spaces that makes us aligned with it, or it's telling you it's not in alignment, to leave it alone. Come back to it later. So my eyeglasses have become also an interesting part of my daily observation. I can enjoy looking at all of you, and I can see you pretty clearly, but there's no guarantee 20 minutes later if you are still sharp and clear. And sometimes I can read with the glasses on, so I really do not know what's happening with my eye and its physiology, but heck, I'm enjoying it because I'm like, oh, I was reading it just fine, now the letters are gone. So it's a state of enjoyment rather than fighting with it or running to this or that. Please do your part. But my part is, why can't we make everything enjoyable? There's only two versions of life's journey, and at each polarity is going to teach you a lesson by fulfillment of it, by dismissal of it. Either side, you're getting a lesson. So why can't that lesson be interesting? Why it has to be painful? And that's another part of my reality. I am not much different than you. I do feel the pinch of things when things are not right. But I'm choosing very cognitively not to dwell on it for too long. I do not choose to be captive of my own emotions for too long periods of time. I don't want to be prisoner of my own emotions. And that's the lesson of detachment I am working on, and it's a day-to-day thing. It's not a mastery that I can say I've done and I've gotten over it. It does not work that way. But we choose to be our own captive audience with shackles and handlocks and all other things in the mind and in spirit. So think about your version of it. What is holding you captive to your own story? A couple of years ago, I made this statement: have you ever been a villain in your own story? Is there any story that you have of yours, you're a villain in it? There's nowhere written in the rule book of life that you have always to be the hero or rescuer in there. Are you a villain in your own story? And a part of that is the sense of projection. We have been nurtured in a way of taking care of things, doing things, protecting, healing, and all other things. We forget there's okay to have an experience of a boo-boo or a goof up somewhere along the way of life. It's bound to happen. Because just like I'm living through my sense of projection, the person in that equation might be living in their version of projection, and they may not be at the same page and the same line or the same paragraph, to say the least. So respectable mutual differences or ideology or ability to see the same thing similarly may not always exist. So you may have to then put your rosy glasses on and enjoy the view. Right? Choice to be made. Choice to be made. My appreciation for each and every one of you, you had many choices, but you made the choice to sit in this room for whatever that reason is. I'm very confident you're sitting here for yourself. And you need to take pride in it. You need to take joy in it. You need to take the courage in that decision. I'm here for me. Some of us are here because we want to keep this space open, yet in that we have a choice. We want to be here. So the ideation is, this time of my life is so valuable. My projection is just a fragment of possibility. It is not everything that I want it to be. And that will come through that version of journey. So while you're seated here, how many of you are at the beach right now? I am. I really wanted to be at the beach this morning, right? And that's the beauty of our thoughtful bilocation, not our yogic bilocation. Our minds can be scattered in multiple different places. And that's another part of enjoyment of seeing where that projection is, that's subliminally telling you where your alignment needs to be. So enjoyment through little subtleties of life is a great thing. So let's get back to the story of that stick. That stick had to become a bougainvillea over time. And it took that poor stick 4 years to sprout because somebody named Joy was in its way of joy of blossoming. It really literally took almost 4 years for the first leaf to pop out of that stem, and I was like running to my mom, like, look, something's there. I was growing up, over those 4 years too. But at the same time, that poor stick propped the rose plant, it propped out of the petunia plant, morning glories. It did all the job but blossoming, budding for itself. The natural law of growth is never taken away from any one of us, allowing us to grow and blossom in our own divine, sweet timing. The natural law of alignment and alchemy says, until that right mix of energies and alignment happens, keep doing your song and dance. You got to learn doing the song and dance, but the output and outcome may not exactly reach to the point. Water has a boiling point, which is different than milk's boiling point, which is different than something else. And I'm feeling very excited just to discover at my age that when I flush the baking soda with vinegar, it makes fuzzy wuzzies. Now, what a wonderful discovery. I can create a little simple joy out of it, but the story of that stick is if I were to be a stick, I need to understand sometimes stillness is all I need to be still in that very moment where my hands are shaking, my spirit is saying something else. It's not in absolute congenial moment of my life. I have to choose to just be still just for long enough. And it might find its own flow. And then you would find life is sprouting, life is happening. So the natural law of growth also dictates that nothing grows in linear form. It usually never grows in a linear form. We grow from the birth to the first birthday, second, third, fourth, 50th, 100th birthdays. But within those years, nothing is linear. Nothing is happening in a very straight line format. And we need to make peace with that sense of it too. So the projection of today may come out to be down the road, 10 years down the road is happening. And you're like, oh, now it's happening. Why didn't it happen then? Maybe that alignment, that alchemy would not have created the best outcome. Maybe the byproduct was more toxic than the enjoyment of the outcome of it. So understanding that sense of discovery always continues with a wonderful aha in our lives. So 2014, New York. Me, Reverend Marilyn Autry, and her daughter Nancy, we were on the road driving, and we got lost. Marilyn and Nancy has traveled those roads many, many years. I was in the back seat. I had no clue where I was other than in the back of the car. And we were trying to find a way, and everything that was happening was left and right, and every turn, the frustration was building. And, we were all psychic mediums in our own capacity. We're trying to see where the heck we are supposed to go, and it's going its own way. And the little voice out of me says, I think we're just creating a natural law of exploration. It's just allowing us to explore wherever the heck we are. And we just all chuckled and laughed and still tried to figure out. We finally found where we needed to go. But that was funny. I mean, you think about that, a bunch of psych in a car and still lost. And it became a funny thing for all of us because we now talk about that. That's one natural law I feel somewhere is documented under my name because it just has been going since 2014, and we talk about that. So from my shoes to your shoes, if you ever feel lost in your journey, if you ever feel that you cannot sit still enough, perhaps the idea of was let me explore whatever the heck is going on here. Whatever is happening here, what is it trying to feed me? What is it trying to give me that I need to know where I am? More likely know who I am. What is it making me rather than what I'm supposed to be? Observe that, examine that, because this beauty of life in the philosophy, in the learning, is remarkable. Remarkable. I have numerous of my own failures to say, if they didn't happen, Joy wouldn't be standing here on this podium and sharing my time with all the souls that chose to be here. It would have taken me in a whole different outcome. And that brings me to somewhat of a closure, once again to remind you, we are always exactly where we are supposed to be. And you are all loved. Thank you.